So we went from Trump the peacemaker ceasefire to we're not. It's so crazy. I thought that the worst thing that would happen is be like, all right, Israel can hand it over. I did not for 1,000,000 years think, oh, we're actually going to be the ones who administer it. I never in my wildest dreams did I think that we would be where we are today. I am just, thank God, hopefully the American people can speak out against it. I'll tell you this, if a single American soldier is foot in Gaza, I'm gonna be out there as like some Vietnam War hippie in the street. Like, I'm not kidding. That is a complete red line. And I think it should be for everybody. If you want a ticket to not only losing for a generation, destroying your legacy, this would be a footnote to a disastrous middle war in the Middle East. So I have nothing else to say about it. It's insane. I could go on forever.
Truly insane.
It makes me want to lose my mind. Where is the anti-war coalition? I'm seeing people who I've known for 20 years who have spoken against neocons and saying, oh, we can, happily administer. God, am I losing my mind? I mean, what happened? I knew that the right and many others were craven whenever it came to Afghanistan, and they never really believed what they said. I didn't really believe that it was this bad that we were actually going to be on board. Imperialism through bullying, like Greenland, I'm like fine with, but this is too much. It's like this is one of those where, I mean, we've learned no lessons. It seems Trump is he's serious.
Let's get into breaking points. I think that there's definitely been some tension on the set of breaking points, and that's certainly been noticed in the comment section. A lot of people have noticed the intensity between Krystal and Saagar in a couple different exchanges. Recently, they've had a couple debates that literally went on for like 40, 50 minutes. People in the comments were like, all right, guys, we get the point. You disagree. But they really had to hammer everything out. And Saagar actually has been getting a fair amount of criticism, I would say, specifically, when he tries to respond to and defend the coup, essentially, that Elon Musk and his cronies have engaged in. Saagar even hilariously compared it to FDR. But that aside, people in the comment section have not been the most kind to Saagar. It doesn't seem like there's too many MAGA supporters left at Breaking Points that are really down for this kind of gaslighting. As you see here, this one is a comment, on a video that's not the one we're going to be reacting to. This was from a couple days ago. Someone says, I feel like Saagar should periodically redisclose that he is a personal friend of JD Vance in case anyone missed it before. It's absolutely crazy how the comments went from universally dissing Krystal to universally dissing Saagar. And then, this person calling out how Saagar has over and over again tried to justify Trump and Musk's actions, their illegal takeover of the treasury, etc., by simultaneously saying that this is what America voted for. And also the majority of Americans do not understand what these things do, which has been a big crutch that Saagar has leaned on in his defense of, again, this illegal takeover of the treasury, of so many different departments at this point, basically of our government, right? And it's pretty infuriating to watch. Before we get into the video, though, where Saagar does start to criticize Trump and start to actually voice his concerns and his frustrations, what do you think this means, Zach? Do you think that this is just a YouTube comment section thing, or do you think this is actually at all indicative of the way the country is feeling? Do they feel regret? Do you think MAGA supporters are actually starting to feel like, oh no, what have we done?
I think it comes down to a lot of factors intersecting with one another. I think Krystal Ball is really benefiting, and I think a lot of progressive media is really benefiting. Kyle Kulinski, we've pointed out, the Humanist Report, David Dole, the Rational National. They are seeing a surge in support, and they're seeing a surge in viewership that is coming because MSNBC and CNN has let them down, right? Yep. They were made to believe that we have to resist Donald Trump at all costs. We have to go out there and we have to be the resistance. This is fascism. This is the last chance we have to return to being a proper country. Do this for your children. It is extremely important. That's what they were told, right? They were fed almost a hyperbolic narrative, right? I agree with a lot of what they were told. I think a lot of it is rooted in reality, but they were also fed a lot of hyperbolic nonsense that would, over the last, 7 or 8 years, really kind of drum up how you feel about this, whether that was Russiagate or whatever, right? And so when mainstream media flipped on a dime after the Donald Trump re-election, and they said, oh no, Mika and Joe, we're going to fly to Mar-a-Lago. We're actually buddies. I've known Donnie for a long time. That was just a work. That was just a con. Sorry you fell for it, dummy. Was basically what they told their entire audience. Their audience said, fuck you. I actually do believe that Donald Trump is a fascist. I actually do believe that he's taking this country down a very dangerous road, and I want to resist that. So where are they going to find the people who legitimately want to resist Donald Trump? They're going to find it in Krystal Ball. They're going to find it in Kyle Kalinske. They're going to find it on YouTube with independent media of people who are like, no, I never wanted to blast Democrats for fun, but I also am perfectly happy to blast Democrats when they deserve it. And I'm also going to thoroughly, always, and constantly call out Donald Trump, right? I'm not going to play both sides. I'm just going to tell you, hey, this is really bad, and here's what we need to do better, right? We need to get rid of Hakeem Jeffries. We need to put forth a more populist messaging. We should model the party off of Claudia Sheinbaum in Mexico as opposed to what we're doing in this country. Who can we get behind that's going to actually authentically represent us? How do we be constructive in a time when we don't have leadership? Those are things that Kyle and Krystal are addressing, and there's a huge demographic craving for that. Now, the demographic that once made up much of Breaking Point's comment section leaned conservative. Now, MAGA has bifurcated, right? They want to be spoon-fed things that they agree with, right? They want to be like baby birds, have the mama bird come and put things into their mouth, say, oh, based, Donald Trump is hardline on Palestine. Oh, based, Donald Trump is going to fix drug prices. Oh, based, Donald Trump is going to make sure that groceries are less expensive. They don't want to hear any nuance, right? So I feel like constantly having to listen to Krystal come out here and make points that destroy the mythology of Donald Trump, that make it impossible for them to believe his lies, yeah, it's going to be less popular. So now the tides have turned, and most of Breaking Point's audience is going to be people who want to hear Krystal's analysis, foiled by Saagar, who they think is a fascist sympathizer.
Yeah, and I think you're 100% right that that's what MAGA supporters at this point want. They don't want a nuanced discussion about the Constitution and whether or not it's okay for Donald Trump and Elon Musk to override it. They don't want to have a philosophical debate about the legality of this. No, they just want propaganda. And Breaking Points, despite Saagar's enthusiasm for MAGA up until this point, is not that. It is a nuanced discussion. You are going to hear pushback. You are going to have to hear Saagar actually get backed in a corner and defends what he is saying, as he has to do right here.
Are you comfortable with the remedy being a CEO, dictator, king, usurping the power of Congress and the courts?
Am I comfortable
and
with Elon?
remaking
No.
and remake?
So he says no. He says no. I'm not comfortable with Elon. But let's take a look at this, Zach, if you're ready. This is a interesting Breaking Points clip, which is actually ironically about Trump's popularity in the moment. So, apparently, according to some polls, he has not taken a hit as far as his approval rating goes. People are so far like, okay, let's see what happens. Let's see what's going on here. The propaganda seems to be working. But Saagar is going to expound on some criticisms he has of one specific plan from Donald Trump that I totally agree is absolutely insane.
Yeah, let's take a look
Donald
here.
Trump. Let's go ahead and put this up there on the screen. From CBS News, this is the first major indications that we have right now in how Americans are feeling about the Trump administration some 20 days in so far. Describing Donald Trump, the top answers. This is plus or minus 2.5% in terms of the margin of error. Tough, 69%. Energetic, 63%. Focused, 60%. Effective, 58%. Let's go to the next one, please. Trump and the campaign promises. Is he doing 70%, quote, what he promised in the campaign? 30% different from what he promised. Now, the coup de grace, shall we? Let's go to the final one. Trump overall job rating, 53% approve, 47% disapprove. He's got a positive approval rating, something literally unheard of whenever he was the previous president of the United States. And if you look at some of the individual individual things that he has espoused and or is attempting to do, you're going to see some similar support, although there's very important divergence, which we will get to. So let's go to the next one. Trump administration's program to deport immigrants illegally in the United States, some 59% approve, 41% disapprove. Can we go to the next one, please? And here we have interesting numbers that Andrew Kaczynski flagged from YouGov. Trump is some plus 10% approval with voters under 30. Almost unheard of for Republicans. It definitely underscores the vibe shift, the whole idea of male voters. You could see, do you see that number there with male voters is astounding. U.S. trying to.
It's also interesting. not just young people, but Gen X, I believe, was the largest demographic gain for Donald Trump in the most recent election
Not
cycle.
surprising.
Yeah. So as those people become boomers,
The Matt Taibbis.
yeah, very interesting. I am a little more surprised and a little more disappointed by the young people that are falling for Donald Trump, but I think they just don't feel like they have any other option. And I would say the vast majority of people decided to stay home anyway. So it's not so much that young people are fucking turning out in droves for Donald Trump. It's that a lot of young people stayed home for Kamala Harris, didn't participate, felt like they would rather fucking pull out their own hair than vote for Kamala Harris. Meanwhile, a few more higher percentage younger people who were misguided decided to vote for Donald Trump. So I think it probably looks more significant than it is, but I think the Gen X one is really significant.
Now, this is where the divergence comes into, and this is what I'm going to get to. Of all the things that Donald Trump, I unfortunately was not able to be here on Thursday to rage against this, has said that has concerned me most, and what I think would destroy both this country and his presidency, is this. U.S. trying to take over Gaza would be 13% good idea, 47% bad idea, 40% not sure, depends. To the 40%.
You really united the country on this one.
To the 40%, I beg, I plead, get with the program, get with the bad idea. There is not a single thing that Donald Trump has done this presidency that has not shocked, appalled, outraged, incited me to rage and potential violence if this were to happen, than his insane proposal to take over Gaza, which he seems completely committed to. Let's go ahead and take him to listen to that.
That's quite an admonishment from Saagar. That's quite a scathing thing from Saagar. He's talking about how Donald Trump has done so many things that make him sick, that make him want to pull his hair out, that make him want to rally against it and be violent, but none other greater than his plan for Gaza here. That's coming from a Republican who has supported Donald Trump twice.
Which he said yesterday on his way to the Super Bowl.
I'm committed to buying and owning Gaza. As far as us rebuilding it, we may give it to other states in the Middle East to build sections of it. Other people may do it through our auspices, but we're committed to owning it, taking it, and making sure that Hamas doesn't move back. There's nothing to move back into. The place is a demolition site. It'll be, the remainder will be demolished. Everything's demolished. I mean, you can't live in those buildings right now. They're very unsafe.
So we went from...
He's concerned about their safety, the safety of the Palestinians. That's what it's really all about. Guys, he has to make sure all the buildings are up to code. That's why he doesn't want anybody to come back.
Yep, he doesn't want those slumlords in charge anymore. But also, before we get back to this, because Saagar has a lot more to say that it's going to be really interesting to hear. But since that clip was aired on Breaking Points, Donald Trump has edited his stance. Now we're actually not going to buy it. That's what he said in the clip they played on Breaking Points. Now he's saying, no, we're actually just going to take it. And you guys can obviously watch that clip, but it's a direct quote. He says, we're just going to take it. There is nothing to buy. It's a war-torn area. We're just going to take it. We're just going to take it. It's ours now, which is genuinely insane. Genuinely, that not even Bush was like, we're just going to take Iraq.
Bomb Libya, take the oil.
Yeah, right. Very reminiscent of previous statements. But I think this is the most bizarre and crazy because it's just not something that's feasible. It's not something that's feasible. You think you can just set up shop in Gaza and that Hamas will just completely give up? No. Hamas is actually, if anything, stronger than ever. You think they're going to just be defeated and say, okay, we're going to stop bombing. We're going to stop resisting. We're going to stop fighting back. Take your golf course land? Fuck no. This is crazy. Even if Trump was 100% committed to this, even if America committed 100% of its money and troops to this, it would never really truly be a workable situation, at least not in the near future.
We spent 20 fucking years, Gavin. 21 and a half years in Afghanistan, occupying it. Oh, we're going to take control of it. We are going to get rid of the Taliban. We are going to spend $1 trillion in this big Middle East project that encompasses Iraq, Afghanistan, any radical Islamic country, Somalia, wherever the fuck we decide our grubby little fucking hands are going to go. And I remember one of the worst presidents of my entire lifetime looked at that situation and he said, you know what? Fucking enough is enough. We're not going to do that anymore. And you know what happened after we left Afghanistan? The Taliban went right back into fucking power. Okay, so it was a useless thing to do. It was a lost cause. It was absolutely pointless unless you were a contractor that was being enriched, right? When I look at Elon Musk, I look at an unelected Dick Cheney, right? I look at somebody who is going to poison the well of Donald Trump and overstep the boundaries of his role. And he wasn't even elected at all. You know
Do you
what I
think
mean?
he's behind this Gaza thing? Because I almost view this as more of like a Trumpian, like, I'm a real estate developer. I almost also think it's kind of like him wanting to have his Reagan moment of like, Mr. Gorbachev tear down that wall. Like he wants to be remembered as the president who solved the Israel-Palestine issue by just going in there and creating a development. And that's what his real estate brain tells him is the solution to everything. Oh, develop, make it beautiful. That'll be my, legacy, right? I don't see this as much of an Elon Musk, dictate. Do you?
I mean, I guess that was the wrong way of putting it. However, I do think that I think that he kind of fills that role. Maybe you're right, in less in a foreign policy manner, in a less of a foreign policy directive. But to me, I just think it's not learning from the lesson that we already had before us. No. It's not learning from the fact that you cannot occupy and keep away a fucking. We didn't even learn it in Vietnam, guys. How's it going? I'm about to fly to Ho Chi Minh City. Okay, guess what? That means we lost the Vietnam War. Okay, because you know who the United States was fucking fighting in that war? Ho Chi Minh. All right, we conquered South Vietnam. How long did we put a bunch of dead bodies everywhere? Agent Orange. Let's burn down houses. Let's rape innocent women and children. That's what we did over there. Oh yeah, and then guess what? Didn't fucking matter, right?
Are you gonna visit the memorial to the brave soldiers who shot down John McCain's plane?
I will, and I'm gonna fucking put an American dollar right there and say thank you for. I'm sorry that it didn't have a better outcome. You know what I mean? But I'm telling you, there's no way for the United States to do it. We've tried it over and over again. This idea of nation building, and what I'm really thinking it comes back to, and this is why I feel like it is somewhat Elon Musk coded. This is why I think it somewhat has to come out. And again, maybe I'm just attributing every evil of Donald Trump's second term to Elon Musk, but I've been really thinking about how it manifests itself in like that old, colonial mindset, right? We were just having a conversation the other day about how Elon Musk, Peter Thiel, what all those other fucking assholes that were from the PayPal startup, they all came from like South Africa. Peter Thiel, he, went to a school where they still said Hail Hitler and celebrated Hitler's birthday
in Namibia, right?
In Namibia, yeah, which was at the time called Southwest Africa, right? It was a colonial project. So what I'm wondering, Gavin, is the way that Donald Trump described that right there. It seemed like turning Gaza into a colonial project. Oh, we're gonna own it. We might rent it out to other countries to oversee it, but it will be ours. We will own it. And to me, that just seems like doing another Puerto Rico. To me, that seems like doing another Rhodesia. To me, that seems like what we did all throughout the 19th century and first half of the 20th century, most of the 20th century, right? And we were like, oh, we're not going to do that anymore. This expansion of empire is wrong and immoral. It seems like it's a resurgence to that, which does give me like Elon Musk, kind of vibes.
I mean, I would say that Israel very much is a Rhodesia in the modern day sense, right? It's just justified, with the history of anti-Semitism, and it's justified with the Holocaust, but it is basically a modern day Rhodesia. And I think that, the only thing I'm really truly curious about and can't really make heads or tails of with this situation of Trump and Elon is will America actually own Gaza like Trump is saying, or is Trump just saying this so it sounds more America first and it's actually all just going to be done for Israel? Oh, America is pledging to clear out and rebuild Gaza so that Israel can actually take it over. And Trump's just pretending it's going to be ours. But actually, no, of course, it's just going to be, all on behalf of Israel for Israel. Or is it he actually saying that like Gaza is going to become like a new Puerto Rico, Virgin Island kind of territory? I don't really truly understand. But I totally agree with you. It's a resurgence in that colonialist ideology.
Yeah, I think there's a fair chance of that being the case. Although I go back and forth, right? I go back and forth because I don't really know what Elon Musk's ideology is. I feel like we're going to find out, even other than like self-enrichment, like I'm a fucking Nazi, like all those kinds of things. But I just think that would kind of lead you to the policies that Donald Trump is doing with his like expansionism
for sure
and all of that. But you're right. I think you're onto something when you say this could all end up just being a way of trying to codify it as America first. And in reality, we just, are doing it for the benefit of our 51st state, Israel.
Yep. Because although Elon Musk's influence is huge, we also can't minimize the influence of people like Miriam Adelson, who supposedly visits Trump in the White House on a regular basis, as she did during the first Trump term alongside her, late husband. So he's also dealing with that corrupting influence and basically just like pledging them anything they want. So I truly don't know if this is actually, if this happens, if it were to truly come to fruition, if it would be for Israel, if Trump actually wants to make Gaza an American territory, not just like an ally as a part of Israel, but literally part of this country. It's genuinely insane. It's unhinged. It's not something he talked about on the campaign trail. Very, very weird stuff. But let's take a look at the rest of this breaking point segment because Saagar's about
Trump
to get pretty
the
intense here.
Definitely.
Maker ceasefire to we're not it's so crazy. I thought that the worst thing that would happen is be like, all right, Israel can hand it over. I did not for 1,000,000 years think, oh, we're actually going to be the ones who administer it. Now Trump says we're not going to have a single troop on the ground. Okay, good luck trying to own a piece of property without administering it. Something potentially like even worse and more outrageous is removing is the United States actually expelling all of these people instead of the Israelis. I mean, it's one thing, these two people where they're going to ethnically cleanse them. It's like, all right, well, that's on them. But this is like us not only complicit in shipping arms to facilitate it, but like actively participating. There's that. I saw a tweet going around immediately after Trump said that. And this is not an endorsement, but it's like, that is going to incite more terrorism against the United States than like any potential thing an American president has done since the invasion of Iraq.
Yeah.
Yeah. All of these things could have been pointed out to Saagar long before Donald Trump became president. Now, I know it is a very sensitive topic when you talk about things that we knew about Donald Trump's foreign policy before he got elected. And people love to say, well, Joe Biden was doing a lot of bad shit. No arguments there. Joe Biden was doing all kinds of bad shit. He was doing evil atrocities. He is a genocide enabler. He is a genocide perpetrator. He deserves to be killed at The Hague. Full stop. However, that doesn't mean that we didn't know what Donald Trump was also going to do. That doesn't mean that we didn't have a long history of Donald Trump's relationship with Israel, of Jared Kushner and Ivanka Trump's relationship with Israel, of Benjamin Netanyahu, the way the Trump organization had been embedded with all kinds of Israeli money. Not racist to say that, just a fact to say that, right? And we could say, hey, Donald Trump has no shame and he is completely bought by the country of Israel. So without a doubt, he will continue to escalate and he will be far more brazen and he will be far more direct than what we saw under Joe Biden. Most likely. That was my analysis. I think that's being borne out. None of that is a justification for the way that Joe Biden behaved.
Like, okay, I'm not getting into a damn skyscraper anytime soon. After I'm beside myself over this, and I'm beside myself over it because he's totally serious. And this is where the Trump administration, there is not a single thing that you could do that would not sink your presidency faster than the political administration of Gaza, than United States soldiers, service members putting their lives at risk, worse, getting killed because of the Israeli military's operation. There's not a single solution to this crisis or whatever that could be worse than what is being proposed here. Turning the Arab world against us, inciting terrorism, but at its absolute worst is, for some reason, Israel gets to destroy Gaza, and then we are the ones who have to pay for it, facilitate the ethnic that they want to get rid of all of these. I never in my wildest dreams did I think that we would be where we are today. I am just, thank God, hopefully the American people can speak out against it. I'll tell you this, if a single American soldier is foot in Gaza, I'm gonna be out there like some Vietnam War hippie in the street. Like, I'm not kidding. That is a
Good. Why does it take that for you, Saagar? Why does it take that? Why does it take that? People have been in the street for months and months and months. You live in DC, okay? Why not? Why not?
Yeah, pretty crazy though, right? I mean, like, part of me wants to, scream because it's like frustrating that Saagar would not understand that this was always something that was going to happen. Like, why do you think Trump was getting all that money from Israel in the first place, if not to use our American military and our American troops to, finish the job, to complete their genocide and their ethnic cleansing, their decades-long project of extermination? Obviously, that's what they were doing. Obviously, that's why Bibi made it clear that he preferred Trump over Harris. But also, at least he's being honest. At least Saagar is being honest about this. Someone in the chat was saying a second ago, like, he's going to leave Breaking Points to become JD Vance's press secretary. I think we can, at this point say clearly that's not true. It may have taken him a couple weeks, but at least he seems to be getting there. At least he seems to be realizing that, yeah, this isn't exactly America first in the way that I envisioned. But yeah, it is really frustrating because obviously we knew this was going to happen.
Yeah, to be charitable to Saagar for a second, even though he doesn't fucking deserve it, right? I think he is in a position as a guy who advocates for the Republican Party that finds himself in the same position that we as lefties who advocate for the Democratic Party, right? It's very easy to be like, fuck it, I plugged my nose and did this. Now everybody is going to shove all of the horrible shit that the Democratic Party is doing in my face, right? That happens to me all the time. I've kind of garnered the reputation of a shit lib around these times. I'm like, great, if the shit libs want Medicare for all, no fucking war, $35 minimum wage, like, great, sign me up. I guess we've come a long way. Now, I don't think that's necessarily the case, right? And I think Saagar has that similar experience, but in reverse. Now, I think that you would have to be fucking dog shit crazy to support the Republican Party in any capacity. I don't think the upswing of any narrow, specific what policy you could point to would ever drown out the fucking misery and just the devastation that's going to be brought on by 4 years of them being in power, gutting the government, all of that crap. But I can see that there's a parallel for somebody who is an honest actor like Saagar, who desperately wants to see the right wing pulled in a direction that he views as more populist, that he views as better for working people, better for America. And then on the other side, where Krystal sits as somebody who obviously will support the Democrats, but not make excuses for them when Joe Biden does an atrocity. Do you know what I mean? And I think
100%.
that at the core is what makes Breaking Point still a special show, because even when Saagar, is getting raked over the coals by the comment section, at least he does have, like you said, the integrity to say what he believes, even when it's bucking orthodoxy within the party.
Yeah, it's going to be really interesting to track his evolution because obviously, there's that honeymoon period. He wants to kind of convince himself and gaslight everyone into thinking, no, this is okay. It's, it's what the American people wanted. It's what they voted for. It's the mandate. It's going to be really interesting to see if he's able to continue this sort of critical energy because this is a very intensely critical, more than I've ever heard of anything that Trump has done in recent memory from Saagar, saying, I will literally be out there on the streets, Vietnam War protesting like a hippie. I mean, that's crazy. This is coming from someone who's like number one issue is how much he hates cannabis. He's going to cast himself as the hippies. He's going to join us. That means it's pretty dramatic.
Yeah, he's going to put a little clip over his
nose before he comes to hang out with us and be like, guys, I'm sorry, but you all smell so bad.
Complete red line. And I think it should be for everybody. What did we not learn our lesson? And with Trump, this is where his arrogance, one of the things I predicted here on the show is like every president who wins a popular vote, especially in their second term, they always overreach in some way. And it ends up backfiring. I would never have predicted that it would be this, but this is if you want a ticket to not only losing for a generation, destroying your legacy, this would be a footnote to a disastrous middle war in the Middle East. So I have nothing else to say about it. It's insane. I could go on forever.
Truly insane.
It makes me want to lose my mind. Where is the anti-war coalition? I'm seeing people who I've known for 20 years who have spoken against neocons and saying, oh, we can, happily administer. God, am I losing my mind? I mean,
And I do just have to take a moment to point out that people have been calling the Republican Party the new anti-war party for a long time. Like, oh, the Republicans, they're the new anti-war party. Like, if your number one issue is being anti-war, then you've got to support the Republicans. Like, hey, the Democrats are the new warmongers. No, both parties are the pro-war party, and the only legitimate anti-war mobilized faction comes from the left flank of the Democratic Party, and that's what we've been spelling out to everyone all. Of course, all the corporate Democrats love war, but every last Republican besides Rand Paul and Thomas Massie fucks with war. All right, that's the reality.
What happened? I knew that the right and many others were craven whenever it came to Afghanistan, and they never really believed what they said. I didn't really believe that it was this bad that we were actually going to be on board. Imperialism through bullying like Greenland, I'm like fine with, but this is too much. It's like this is one of those where, I mean, we've learned no lessons. It seems Trump is he's serious. Like it's one of those where something I have learned here with his second term, like, no, let's take him totally seriously.
I appreciate you saying that because that's a lot of the cope I see is like, oh, well, it's just a negotiating position and he's not
No,
really
I think he means it,
serious. I'm
yeah.
like, no, I don't know why you would. First of all, if he says, and he said it now repeatedly,
Right.
you should take it seriously. And number two is, to your point, like, if we've learned anything in this second administration, it's like, no, even the wildest things, even things that he frankly never talked about on the campaign trail, are completely on the table. So, yeah, not a very popular move there, but one that he's in. And you know, this, it seems like it comes from Kushner, who floated originally like waterfront property, blah blah blah, and this is Trump's like deranged real estate brain.
I
Where
think
he
it's
just
worse.
sees like dollar signs and, you know, certainly doesn't care about the people there or what it would entail. But it's I mean, it's disgusting. It's immoral. It's a catastrophe. It's just, it is even worse than what I could have
I
imagined.
never could have cooked something up like
Trump
this.
would have done. Like, and I think I had a pretty dire expectation of what his policy vis-a-vis Israel would be. This is actually worse.
Yeah, I mean, and look, even granting Israel
And that's some honest commentary. So many people came out after Donald Trump was reelected and said, wow, he's so much better on foreign policy. Look at how he's going to bring peace to the region. Look at how he already negotiated a ceasefire deal. And it's like, yeah, dude, he negotiated a ceasefire with Netanyahu because he told Netanyahu behind the scenes that, yeah, we're just going to let you just take all of it. We're just going to bulldoze it. We're just not going to let anybody return to their home, and we're going to rebuild it. Donald Trump's going to put his name all over it, and the United States will own it, but it will be totally used by the Israelis. They're going to get to have their cake and eat it too. And people came out here and they were celebrating. They were falling all over themselves, talking about how Donald Trump was going to be some sort of legendary peace broker, the art of the deal finally being employed. Well, now you have it from a progressive lefty and a populist right winger that Donald Trump's plans for Gaza will be worse than anything either of them could have imagined. So let's just be clear about that.
Yep, 100%. That's most of what I wanted to react to from that video. But yeah, I mean, again, I'm not trying to give too much credit to Saagar, someone who absolutely manufactured consent for the rise of MAGA and continued to defend and apologize it far, past the point of, decency or journalistic integrity or whatever. But still, it is refreshing. It is refreshing to see him basically be like, yeah, this is absolutely crazy. I cannot defend this. I will not gaslight anyone into thinking this is a good idea. There really is no defense of it. It's insane. And one thing Saagar has talked a lot about is how he, grew up during the Iraq War and how much the Bush era policy as it related to foreign wars, it disturbed him. And, I think it disturbed anyone who grew up in that time period. And I think that's why this would be a terrible idea, right? If Trump went through with this, because it would just bring everyone right back to that invasion of Iraq. People be like, wait, what? But this time, I think it would be even less popular when all was said and done, because at least there was a freaking giant, insane terrorist attack that, kind of got people in a frenzy. But October 7th didn't happen in America. It happened in Israel. So yeah, you're going to have a bunch of bloodthirsty people over there that are like cheering on the slaughter and the war. But that didn't happen here. American people are going to be like, wait, what? Why are we supposed to go there? Why are we supposed to do this? That's not America first.
Look out the door if you hear an ambulance. The Vanguard will be there, sir. The Vanguard will be there, sir.